It's been a busy few news days now, hasn't it? And this video is going to be a bit more serious than my usual ones. Sorry, but this story is not exactly ripe for comedy. So while I deliver this message, have some Korean girls dancing. You're welcome, editor. Some time ago, I got a question from someone that watched one of my videos, asking basically, how do we fix America? And that's a hell of a question to ask someone from the UK, isn't it? It's like some people are trying to get me into trouble, and frankly, I'm not so sure I can solve that one for you. Last weekend, I did a video about Star Wars and one about Darkside Phil being a dick. Why do you want me to tell you what to do? This is a video I genuinely didn't want to make. I just kind of felt like I had to, because I don't want you guys to tear each other apart. So because nobody else seems to want to do it in this video, I'm going to make the case for America, and then I'm going to make the case for cooler heads to prevail, for you not to hurt each other, just maybe act in self-defense if someone attacks you. Firstly, because I don't like people getting hurt, and even less so if they're good people, and this could all get very ugly very fast. Secondly, maybe it's in part selfish, because many other countries rely on America being there and being strong, mine included. And thirdly, I'll make a few polite suggestions that could maybe help calm things down a bit. So there's no need to go all...
And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again!
Now, do I think America is perfect? Looking at it from the outside, no, far from it. But where is? But I do find this argument a compelling one, and a frankly very difficult one to disagree with. She makes a strong case, and what was I talking about again? I mean seriously, change one of those to an Accuracy International Arctic Warfare and she could even be wife material. What prompted this was current events, and the internet personality Destiny, and his recent, let's call it, activity on stream and on Twitter. I once described him as the most reasonable seeming among company like Hassan Piker and Vorsh, and oh boy did he show me. He's fully mask off at this point. At this point, Vorsh the horse guy may be winning the contest for the more reasonable of the three.
You can write this down. I want to f a woman as a horse. None of this is a secret. To be clear, my moral principles are rock solid. Let's talk to a therapist. Well, why do you want to be the horse, Vosh? Because then I'd have a giant dick. I could have a big dick hypothetically in any variety of scenarios, but then it wouldn't really be a horse dick. Well, you could be a human with a horse dick, yes, but then I wouldn't have that powerful stallion energy.
Because Destiny took to X, Twitter, to say a lot of things like this, delivered once again in the soothing voice of a Nigerian woman, because that's yet again the only one working on text-to-speech.
If we learned anything today, I hope it's realizing the importance of principles I've stressed many times on stream before. Having a firearm means absolutely nothing if you don't spend time at the range practicing with it.
And he was absolutely talking about Trump. Then he got demonetized on X and temporarily banned on Kick, and he was already permanently banned on Twitch. The guy doesn't seem to learn. This is his Twitter banner, by the way. And by F stuff up from his current behaviour, I can only assume he means America. I'll get to him later. But if you don't make it that far, if you were a fan of the orange guy or the other guy, listen to them when they call for calm, and don't listen to Destiny, because they seem to understand how profoundly dangerous this situation all is. When Destiny says,
"All I see is Biden up +1 in Pennsylvania,"
say things like this, and there's a considerable risk someone from the other side may want Biden to start getting less votes using the same methods. Calm it down and don't go there. I say this because America gets a lot of hate. America has kind of been the global leader since 1945, maybe before, and before that maybe it was the British Empire. And is that an easy job? No. There's an expression from Shakespeare from his play Henry IV. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and it's a profound statement. The fact is, you get hated when you're the shot caller. Other people always think they can do better. As the shot caller, you'll sometimes have a choice between two options and they're both bad, and you don't even have all the information to go on. But you have to try and pick the least bad, because if you don't choose one, something even worse will happen, and whichever you choose you're going to get blamed anyway. It's paying the cost to be the boss, and sadly sometimes you have to fire some people in order to save a whole company, or everyone will be out of work. Pick one. Sounds like great fun, huh? All while other countries get to sit back and act virtuous while saying, "Oh, it's fine, America will deal with it." There seems to be a crisis in confidence within America after Afghanistan and other events, and I don't think that's a good thing at all. In it, people hold a series of beliefs that don't even hold up to examination. Just one example, the myth that America lost to a load of rice farming peasants armed with sticks in Vietnam. It didn't, obviously, unless you're willing to believe that the North Vietnamese just magicked up a load of Russian-made T-54 main battle tanks, Chinese-made Type 59 tanks, Russian-made MiG warplanes. What do people think? That the Viet Cong just grew them in rice paddies? Russian media itself doesn't even try to hide these facts. Now, was I there to see these things firsthand? No, but when American documentation is saying the North Vietnamese had Russian tanks, and the Russians are saying, yeah, we helped the North Vietnamese and armed them, and there are pictures of the tanks rolling into Saigon, the defeated by rice farmers thing doesn't really hold up, does it? Vietnam was one of a long list of proxy wars, of which Ukraine just seems to be the latest. Then there's Afghanistan. Once again, America could have wiped out every person in Afghanistan, nuked Kabul, annexed the whole country. In the end, the US just kind of got bored and left, leaving an Afghan national army that can't seem to manage a star jump after years of training. And once again, the Taliban were allegedly being supported by this time Iran and, big shocker, Russia again. At least according to this guy at the Royal United Services Institute. Is the US not being willing to wipe out civilians en masse to win, whatever that means, an argument for why they shouldn't lead? Because I think the exact opposite may be true. So let's get into realpolitik for a moment. If not America leading the world, then who? Who's the better option? Is anyone keen to see America toppled and replaced by who? Russia? Do you want Vladimir Putin ruling the world? Really? China? How about the glorious return of the British Empire? A reformed UN Security Council? Who? Who is the better option that's on the table? Because after 1945, America was the only country with nukes. So what could America have done with them? Pretty much anything they wanted. They could have nuked Russia and China clear off the map. If America had wanted to annex the UK after 1945, who would have stopped them exactly? And then they didn't. America could have annexed most of Western Europe and carried on. And then they didn't. They instead freed occupied countries one after another, and even Germany. They didn't annex Germany either. They paid to rebuild it and tried to make something better. NATO has basically kept Europe almost war-free since 1945 by making the cost too high for anyone to start one. Out of the other choices, who else would have done all that? Would China? Would the USSR? Would Imperial Japan have done that? So yes, I feel the need to defend America, even if it's perversely against American citizens. For example, like Hassan Piker.
This is so insane. America deserved 9/11, dude. F it, I'm saying it.
Hassan Piker is a tool. There seems to be a worrying amount of US and UK citizens that just hate their own countries and want them to fail.
Off on the sidewalk. Into the street. No Trump, no war, no USA at all.
These are Americans, if I can even call them that, chanting for the destruction of America. Sometimes it falls to a friend to have to make an intervention. America, you have some serious work to do, but don't be so hard on yourselves. And in saying that, I don't mean that the UK doesn't, because it does. The UK have some really serious problems as well. So how do you fix this? You may need to break out of your echo chambers a bit more and talk to each other. I mean really talk to each other. I don't mean the way Destiny talks to people. I don't mean the debate me bro format, where you try to bludgeon each other into submission and win, whatever that means, by a mix of talking fast and sophistry until you both call each other bad faith and leave in a huff. I'm talking about honest, Socratic dialogue and empathy for each other. So Destiny, it would be hard to overstate quite how much he's dropped in my estimation in the last few days. In March last year, he said this on X.
Wrong. I'm an atheist, so I believe that are always wrong, whereas you religious folks seem to enjoy selectively justifying them.
Not a bad statement, but in response to the recent events, he said,
If we learned anything today, I hope it's realizing the importance of principles I've stressed many times on stream before. Having a firearm means absolutely nothing if you don't spend time at the range practicing with it. A person in a crowd cheering for and supporting a traitor to this country caught astray. I'm so sad, please.
So he thinks those violent acts are always wrong, and doesn't like people who selectively justify them, but only until it's someone that he doesn't like a lot, and then he wishes the attempted assassin was a better shot, and selectively justifies violence in those exact acts. He's nothing if not a complete and total hypocrite, and watching him gloat at an unarmed civilian who lost their life at a Trump campaign event was frankly pretty stomach turning for me. But wait, because he managed to go even lower than that. When asked how he'd feel if it was one of his parents that had lost their life in those circumstances, it seems he said this.
How about your parents? If they get their brains blown out at a rally, would you have the same attitude? They are democracy-hating insurrectionists after all. One, you're permaban for asking a stupid question because they're adults. If you want to support an insurrectionist president, then whatever comes of that that's your consequences. It was my mom that, ranted at me for over a decade about how evil the USSR and Putin and all the Chi-Coms and whatever, if they go to a rally and less end-of-life cost for me to deal with. It's on them. That's their decision.
I used to think Destiny was a sensible voice and someone who was doing the right thing in being willing to break out of echo chambers and talk to people who he disagrees with. Now I don't think he was being honest in that at all. I think now he's being honest when he says things like this. He also isn't as bright as I once thought he was, because he thought it was a good idea to have a slanging match with Konstantin Kisin, who's a stand-up comic. So good luck with that. He's used to dealing with hecklers live on stage. It went about as well for Destiny as you would expect. Now, who started their discussion is debatable. A tweet from Destiny got responded to by Konstantin, so they kind of both started it, and it was this one.
A person in a crowd cheering for and supporting a traitor to this country caught astray. I'm so sad, please.
And it got nasty after Konstantin implied Destiny may have just a bit of Trump derangement syndrome. The problem is for Destiny that recently a lot of very embarrassing stuff has come out about Destiny and his open relationship with his now ex-wife. So when Destiny said,
Can't wait for the 7,000th video asking if woke people are destroying America,
mocking Konstantin replied with,
I can see why. It beats watching your wife get railed by another man for the 7,000th time.
And it went on like this until Destiny tried to imply that Konstantin was soulless and had betrayed family in Ukraine and backed Russia in the current conflict, none of which appears to be true. Konstantin then replied,
I raised over $100,000 for Ukrainian charities and sent money, clothing and supplies to dozens of families in Ukraine. You're just angry you got railed in this exchange almost as much as your ex-wife by other men every day you were married. Take the L and log off.
Destiny then slunk away with his tail between his legs. If some of the current claims are true, maybe to go and pester young women for feet pics. I raised over $100,000 for Ukrainian charities and sent money, clothing and supplies to dozens of families in Ukraine. You're just angry you got railed in this exchange almost as much as your ex-wife by other men every day you were married. Take the L and log off. Remember, this is Konstantin being accused of betraying his family by the guy who just said this.
Less end-of-life cost for me to deal with. It's on them. That's their decision.
If Destiny is an exemplar of the American progressive movement, I don't want to see the realisation of what they want to progress towards. So next polite suggestion to the US, maybe stop listening so much to the most extreme voices around and try more for moderation. Don't just trust claims and do your own fact checking. You also seem to have a real problem with elections. How did you end up with election machines exactly again? Did any member of the public actually vote for or ask for them? It may be a good idea to just go back to paper ballots or find a way people trust more. Maybe in-person voting with ID required. You can't really hack paper. I seem to remember seeing last election that you had voting locations where people could print out ballots. That's maybe asking for trouble. It may also be a good idea if your votes have more security than a $1 bill. I did see something that I think was in South Korea where the officials on camera opened every ballot and read out who'd voted and who they voted for. That has its own problems for privacy, but it's pretty transparent and hard to cheat, and to restore faith, that may be a thing you have to consider doing. It's no good having elections if a significant number of people don't trust the result, and people get very angry if they think they're being conned. But more than that, you have to remember that you're all one country. snap out of it. You're all supposed to be on the same side, so stand together. But in doing that, don't forget your allies. And remember, you don't stand alone.
Of course!
If you only knew the power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.